Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday. I got Botond with me all the way from Hungary. He's on the other side of the world, but we're both talking Niners. And we're going to start with some business from last week because we haven't talked since last week. We got to talk about CJ Beathard while he's still the quarterback of this team, and then we'll move into the future of the quarterback position. And who's to say CJ is in the future of the quarterback position? CJ could throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns and beat Russell Wilson, and then who knows? Maybe he'll get $100 million contract. The Niners kind of do business that way sometimes. So, Botond, first of all, great to see you. How are you? Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and all of it.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays for you as well. Happy New Year. I hope that 2021 will be much better than 2020 was, at least when we are going to talk about the 49ers next season. This time of the year. It was great. I hope Christmas and New Year was also great in America. It was great. Nothing else to say. It's COVID, so it can be perfect, but it was great.
All right, let's get this started off with CJ. I couldn't have had a lower opinion of CJ heading into last week's game, but then he beat Kyler Murray. And a Cardinals team that was not laying down, that was trying to win. He played a mature, safety-first game and won. And now my question to you is, could he be a starter in the NFL?
Well, in my honest opinion, I wouldn't say that he can be a starter anytime soon. Maybe after some more years when he could be a backup of a veteran quarterback who can teach him some things about football. What I like to say about the performance that CJ had last game is that although he was great, it was mainly because of the playbook that Kyle Shanahan wrote for that game. I think the main similarities between the Rams game when we had Nick Mullens as a starter and this Cardinals game when we had CJ Beathard as a starter, it was that both of them got a really easy to execute playbooks from Kyle Shanahan.
Yep.
And it was the main reason why they both could succeed against our divisional opponents on those games. But don't get me wrong. I must say that I'm happy for CJ. It was by far the best game of him, what I have seen.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely the best game. He's had some nice performances in the past where he's thrown for stuff, like put up good numbers, but he always found a way to lose. And in this game, he didn't do that.
Yep. And what I want to say is that I don't mind that he has the ability to be a starter right now in the NFL, maybe in the future. But I think somehow it's the same with when we are talking about Nick Mullens, that he is a decent backup quarterback. He proved that he can be a decent backup quarterback, but they are just backups. And you don't have to expect anything more from them. And when you got that monster performance, or at least a pretty good performance from them, you have to be happy. But there's nothing else. They are just good as backup quarterbacks when they got the right playbook to play.
Yeah, and he got the right playbook last week. He went up against a defense that was missing some players, and he played a competent game. I don't think he's going to be able to do it this week, Botond. I think he's going up against a defense that's really good and really well coached. They're going to take away that run game. They're going to force the game. They're going to make Beathard be the focal point of the offense, and I think he's gonna really play bad. And what I want to say about CJ is not only do I not think he can be a starter in the NFL, I don't think he can be a backup either. Like, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent this year, and the Niners might re-sign him because Mullens might need surgery and may not be able to be a backup next year. I mean, they might need someone who knows the playbook. But if they don't sign him, I'm not sure another team would sign him. Botond. I don't know that he's shown that much that another team would be like, you know what? That's a guy that's worth the spot on my roster. Because most teams have 2 quarterbacks, and most teams, their number 2 quarterback is someone that they're somewhat intrigued with. And I don't think you can be intrigued with CJ Beathard. The way I'm going to real quick, and I'll be done. But I'll say, I don't know if you know who his grandfather is, but his grandfather was the general manager of Washington in the 80s. He won Super Bowls, and I think also the Chargers in the 90s. He's a Hall of Famer, Bobby Beathard. And I don't know, he must have helped out a bunch of people along the way. And he probably had a lot of people who owed him favors along the way. And only thing I can understand is that the reason CJ started at Iowa and was a third-round pick is because someone owed Bobby Beathard a favor. And because I just don't see it with him. I don't think he was good enough to be in the NFL or be a third-round pick. He should have been an undrafted free agent. If his name was CJ Smith, he would have been an undrafted free agent. So I think enough of paying back Bobby Beathard. Enough. That's all. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't think he's earned anything. You know, when he does have a decent game, it's like, yeah, Kyle did that. He just didn't turn the ball. But whatever. Whatever.
Whoever had a great game this year, I said that it was mainly because of Kyle Shanahan. So every time.
What does the Cardinals say? What does the Cardinals game say about the current state of the 49ers?
Well, with the right coaching, with the right execution, I think that this team can beat almost everyone in the NFL right now with the decent quarterback. And that's the key. We need to have at least a good or an above average quarterback. And that's something what we don't have right now.
Yeah, and that's what Niner fans around here don't understand. Niner fans want the best quarterback in the world. They want Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson rolled into one. And what I think Kyle is saying is, look, that would be great. But what we could – I'm actually really good with just a decent starter. And Jimmy's a decent starter, but he's not healthy enough. And I can't rely on him. So I don't think – I mean, maybe he could make it work with Justin Fields. We can talk about him later, but I think basically the point is if you just give me a starter who can play 16 games a year, we will be fine. He hasn't had that yet. I think that's what we're learning, you know?
Yeah, I think
your expectations.
Yeah, I think that's the key. But, last year didn't help us to lower our expectations because last year we just won games. We won games that we couldn't win in the past 5 or 7 years. And we were like, okay, this team can beat the world. After that, we lost the Super Bowl. Don't talk about it because it was mainly Kyle Shanahan's fault, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what he does. He goes into Super Bowls and lose them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I must agree. We just need a better quarterback. And of course, it didn't show in that game against the Cardinals, but we have to upgrade that offensive line so much.
Yep.
So much.
Another takeaway from that game, losing Salah is going to be a blow. Yeah. Even if they replace him with DeMeco Ryans or someone who's good, Salah is on fire right now. And he's got the book on the Rams. He's got the book on the Cardinals. We'll see how he does against Seattle. No matter, I mean, the Niners are going to get Nick Bosa back. The defense is still going to be very talented, and they're probably going to have a good coordinator too. But I don't see how this defense doesn't take a step back next season without Salah. We'll see it.
Well, we are going to have a lot of free agents turning into the next off seasons, but even if we lose them all, I wouldn't be as sad as I will be when Salah just signs to another team to be a head coach. I think that is going to be the greatest loss of the 49ers in the past 10 or 20 years.
And I think, again, what Kyle's trying to say is we're not necessarily one Hall of Fame quarterback away from being the team we want to be. That's unrealistic. We're one decent quarterback away from being the team we want to be, but not just a decent quarterback. You've also got to fill the needs in the secondary and in the offensive line. And I think that's actually a much more doable proposition than, hey, go get the number 1 pick in the draft or the number 2 pick in the draft and get someone that you think is great. Actually, I think you could probably get someone in round 2 at quarterback and then spend your first round pick, maybe trade down, turn it into whatever. We can talk about what's going to happen. But I'm saying, if you don't look at quarterback as the number 1 need, all you need is someone who's good, not great, makes it easier to find. Mm-hmm. It's an easier solution to fix.
Yep. That's all we need.
Yeah. Because if you say all the Niners need is the next Russell Wilson, well, you'll be waiting forever. You're going to wait forever and ever and ever. You see the next Joe Montana to come around, they'll be fine.
Yep.
Do you think the Niners can compete this weekend against Seattle, given that they're not going to have Trent Williams, Raheem Mostert, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Nick Bosa, D Ford, Dre Greenlaw, Jimmy Ward, Jaquaski Tart, Richard Sherman, and probably a couple. Nick Mullins. Who else?
A lot of other guys, I think. Well, in the middle of the season, we could compete against the Seahawks, but right now it's the end of the season. Everybody knows that we don't have any more playoff hopes. So what I think of is that this is going to be a typical tank game for the 49ers. I don't mind that we want to win that game against the Seahawks. Kyle Shanahan shoot cuts against the Cardinals, I think, for this season at least. He showed everybody that he can just beat anyone with almost any players in the NFL with the help of Robert Saleh, of course.
No, it's true. That's true.
But I don't mind that Kyle Shanahan wants to compete against the Seahawks, even though it's sad because they are divisional opponents and nobody likes Seahawks, who is a 49ers fan.
Right.
But they just don't want to.
Sean, I'm going to come back to you in a second. I think it's it's really interesting what you said about a possible tank game, and I agree. And you know what? If Kyle Shanahan were to treat this game as a preseason game, I wouldn't fault him. You know, like if he played 3 quarterbacks in this game and said, I want to evaluate all 3, it's worth more to me to see a little bit of Rosen and a little bit of Johnson and a little bit of Beathard than to actually win the game. I'd be like, yeah, sure, absolutely. You know, winning the game only hurts their draft position. You know, and plus they're not going to win the game. Seattle's really good. They're not going to win this game. So instead of going for broke, trying to win it, if they lose, hey, you know, no one will fault you. And now you'll pick 11th or 12th instead of 15th or 16th. And that's good.
Yep. I think really? that is going to happen. It's just a preseason game. We are preparing for the next season. We just want to see how much of our second or third strings players are good or good enough to play for the 49ers next season. I think game can be interesting in some different ways, and this game is not going to be interesting because we want to win that game. It's going to be interesting because we are trying to evaluate the value of our second and third string players.
That's right. Like, I don't think Fred Warner should play in the second half.
Nope.
I don't think who else? Kyle Juszczyk should play in the second half, or you know, anyone who freaking matters. McGlinchey has to play the whole game. You got to play 4 quarters.
Yep.
But Warner should stop. Who am I missing right now? Oh, Kittle, George Kittle. Do not play in the second half because the Niners are going to be down by 2 touchdowns at halftime. Yep. Good call. Treat it as like week 1 of the preseason. See what Sean asked. Grant, you just don't get it. CJ is so good. He doesn't need stinking footwork. Pass rusher quiets the secondary need for 1 year. Sea pigeons are old. Yeah, I appreciate you, Sean. Happy New Year. Yeah, it's true. The thing with CJ is he doesn't need mechanics, footwork, anything. He's just the next Patrick Mahomes. He makes it work.
Of course. And he is tough. And that's the most important thing for the 49ers. He is tough.
So tough. The toughest of the tough. All right, let's give out. Yeah. We're going to get to the future of the quarterback position, I promise, but we're going to make you wait. Who is the 49ers offensive MVP this season?
I think that Brandon Ayuk is the offensive MVP of this season for the 49ers. It was a hard choice, but I think that he is. If I want to be honest, I was devastated when we drafted him in the first round when a lot of other good wide receivers were available for the team. But after all the skepticism and all the negativity that I had when I was thinking about Brandon Ayuk, he proved me wrong. And I don't like to be wrong. But you know what? I'm not mad at him because I'm so happy for him. He proved himself as a number 1 wide receiver for the 49ers. I think that he was better than most of our receivers in the past 5 or 6 years. I think that he is a reliable starter for the 49ers as a number one wide receiver. And with Debo, they will be a great tandem for next year, I think.
They will be a great tandem if Debo can keep his hamstrings healthy. Yep. That's a great 1-2 punch, and I think Ayuk is the one in the 1-2.
Yep.
The way I see it. I think Ayuk is a good pick, but I would put him number 2. And this is arguable, but I would put Trent Williams number 1 because I think he was just a little bit more consistent with his individual play than Ayuk. Ayuk had some drops to nitpick because he's great. But I would say that Ayuk probably will definitely be the no doubt MVP of this offense like next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that. But for this year, I'm going to say that Trent Williams edged him out just based on veteran consistency. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, when we are talking about the inconsistency, we can talk about the inconsistency when we are talking about Trent Williams, because at the first few games, he was all about inconsistency. After that, he was okay. He was okay, but for a team who relies most on the running game, you can't afford not to sign a left tackle who is elite. Elite at run blocking.
There you go.
So that's why I don't mind that a guy who you draft, not draft, but sign to be a team captain for a team, to be a left tackle, can be inconsistent at all in a single season. And on the other hand, Ayuk could have been could have 1,000 yards for this season, but he had Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, and C.J. Beathard, who were throwing to him balls, and that's why I think that that a lot of people underestimate those yards and plays that he made this season. I think that no doubt he was the MVP for this team. I don't mind that he is the most important player for this team, but he was the MVP on the offense.
You make a good argument. I'm not gonna argue with you. Let's take a couple questions real quick and then get back to our topics. First, from Sean. Trade Jalen Hurd to team that needs wide receivers. Pats, Ravens for picks. I don't think Jalen Hurd has any trade value right now.
Nope.
But if the Niners can rehabilitate him the way they did with Jason Verrett, he could be in the running for comeback player of the team next year, because the number 3 wide receiver position is wide open. I don't think Kendrick Bourne is coming back. And if he could stay healthy, he could walk right into that job and be have a role on the offense. I don't know if he can do it. I don't know if he can do it, but I think he actually could be a factor on this team next year. It's open. The door is open if he can walk through it.
He can be if he can stay healthy. And that's the greatest argument against him, because everybody knows that he's a physical monster for this team, and that's why Kyle Shanahan signed him, because he is a running back with the size of tight end, with the speed of middle, not middle, but he has the speed as a wide receiver, almost like a wide receiver, and with those physical traits, he can be a mismatch for almost any team in the NFL. He can be our physical number 1 wide receiver. Of course, he cannot be a true number 1 wide receiver, but he can make some plays for the 49ers. He can bring those physicality to another level for this offense.
Absolutely. And also, it seems to me that if you had Hurd and Debo on the field together, there could be situations where you wouldn't need a running back on the field.
Yep.
You could go empty backfield and take turns motioning different wide receivers into play running back. And they would all be good. So you could do really interesting things and create interesting matchups, but the guy needs to make it through a practice and a half without tearing ligaments. So Jalen, that's the goal for this offseason. Next question from J. Carlos Munoz. Because of all the talk around the league, do you think if we don't draft or trade for a QB, Jimmy will perform better given all the pressure and talk?
Jimmy had all those pressures this year because it was a contract year for Jimmy Garoppolo. We all knew that. He knew that as well. I don't mind that he can be better next year. maybe with a better offensive line, he can just make us forget some of his mistakes. But at all, I don't mind that he can be a good and reliable starter for the 49ers.
Yeah, he heard all the chatter this offseason. He knew the Niners were considering signing Tom Brady this offseason. He didn't exactly respond that well to it. And in fact, it almost seemed like it bothered him. He didn't rise to the challenge. He got hurt, but he didn't look that good week 1 either. He looked kind of like he was still, I don't know, he'd lost the confidence he had week 16, week 17 of 2019. It seemed that way to me. So maybe he'll get it back, or maybe he needs to be in a situation where he's not being challenged and the coach is saying, you're great, as opposed to here where they're like, well, we don't really know about you, Jimmy. We still have questions about it. I don't know if he responds to that. He may not have had that type of treatment in New England,
Yep, that's true. That's why I don't think that he can be a better quarterback next year, or that he can be a long-time solution for the quarterback position.
All right. Who's the Niners' defensive MVP this year?
Fred Warner. No doubt.
It's got to be Fred Warner. It's like without question. So let's give him his due. What makes Fred Warner elite in your opinion?
Well, he is a linebacker. He hits like a linebacker. Mm-hmm. He knows the game as a linebacker. Mm-hmm. But when he is in the coverage, he's more like a safety. He can get you balls, and he is really, really consistent. I think that I can only say about one game this season when I couldn't say that he was good. But all the other games, he was terrific, I think. Right now, he is the best linebacker in the league. I must say that.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. You talk about his skill set. Harbaugh once talked about why Patrick Willis called him a 5-tool linebacker. And that's a baseball reference. But like 5 things. He's like, violence downhill to be able to make plays in the backfield, sideline to sideline speed, blitzing, the ability to get the quarterback, coverage, and the ability to get turnovers. I believe those were the 5. Saleh brings up a new concept for linebackers that I hadn't thought of, but the mental game. And that's what he always praises with Fred Warner. He compares him constantly to Peyton Manning. I've never heard a coach compare an inside linebacker to a quarterback, but it makes sense because the middle linebacker is the quarterback of the defense. He's making the calls. He's making the checks. He's getting everything lined up like the quarterback before a play. And apparently Fred Warner is just a savant at it. He's as good as Peyton Manning, which means that he can see things on his own. He's not regurgitating what Saleh told him to do. He's got his own feel to it. So that's part of the lore and legacy of Fred Warner. Yeah.
But I think that I should and I must talk about something else when we are talking about defense, and it's Kerry Hyder. And thank you, Ray White, for the comment when you wrote down his name. I almost forget about him, but man, he's got a really, really great season. If we are talking about the Niners pass rush, we are talking about Kerry Hyder. He was the greatest on the defensive line, and I appreciate him so much that he's a part of this team.
I would also say Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett stepping up when Richard Sherman got hurt week 1. He missed most of the season. Jason Verrett came in and was better. Transformed the defense. They lost Richard Sherman and Nick Bosa in like the same week, and that was going to be that. And Jason Verrett came in and played better cornerback play than any 49ers corner has played since Eric Davis and Deion Sanders. Allowed Robert Saleh to change his entire defensive philosophy. He always talks about how he wants to be able to rush 4 and have 7 people hang back in zone coverage. Well, with Jason Verrett on the field, his solution to Arizona was to rush 5. To rush 5, force the issue, and just cover DeAndre Hopkins one-on-one with Jason Verrett. And the only way you can pull that off is if you have Jason Verrett. So Jason Verrett is right there to me with Fred Warner. He was that important, and the Niners have to bring him back. Have to.
Yep. And we can talk about it right now that we are going to lose Richard Sherman.
Yeah, he said so.
And after that, I think that it is going to be a key to sign an elite quarterback. I know it's the greatest loss of the season that I won't say Elite again. For you guys, just for you, I would say I will say Elite all the time when I'm here. So
I want to say one thing real quick about Verrett and about this man coverage thing. Last point, Saleh talks about the best way to stop a quarterback is the four-man pass rush and zone coverage. I think that's the best way to stop a pocket quarterback. But a mobile quarterback can escape the pocket, extend the play, and now your zone coverage breaks down. And he's had problems with zone with mobile quarterbacks. The problem is if you rush forward, there's always one gap that the quarterback can escape through and extend the play. If you rush 5, that gap doesn't exist. You cage him in. But to rush 5, you have to have corners who can play man to man. So really, Jason Verrett allows Robert Saleh to contain mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, the only concern what I have right now about Jason Verrett is that I'm almost sure that we will change the defensive coordinator of this team for the next season. As I mentioned before, it makes me sad, and I think the re-signing of Verrett depends on who we are going to sign as a defensive coordinator next season.
Yep. Well, another reason I think the Niners should get Gus Bradley if they can is he coached Jason Verrett with the Chargers. Jason Verrett and Gus Bradley and Robert Saleh are like best friends. And that's who recommended Verrett to the Niners anyway, was Bradley. So that's what I say. But he's not available yet. They haven't fired Anthony Lynn yet down with the Chargers. So
we will see.
We will see. Let's get into the quarterback position. We got like 5 or 6 topics on the future of the quarterback position. Let's start with Josh Rosen. Could he be the future of the franchise?
Well, when Cardinals drafted him, I wasn't so high of him. I just couldn't think of him as a franchise quarterback, and he didn't prove me wrong. So right. I'm still not thinking that he can be a franchise quarterback, although we haven't seen him with a great quarterback coach or with a great offensive coordinator in the past few seasons, who gave him the trust he needs to be a great quarterback in the NFL. So I just wouldn't close the doors ahead of him, and I would not say that he can't be a franchise quarterback. But I doubt that the 49ers can be the team who where he performs great. I just can't get it because he is so much of a pocket passer and he lacks of mobility. I think that Kyle Shanahan realized that he needs mobility to be successful in the future in the NFL, and that's why I don't think that Josh Rosen can be future franchise quarterback, at least not for the 49ers.
No, I don't think he's going to be the future franchise quarterback, and I don't think he's going to be in the league much longer. I think he's on the way out. I think he was fool's gold. I think Josh Rosen is a bad quarterback. I think he's what I'm talking about with these quarterbacks this year, like there's always a prototype that NFL teams are looking for. They're not just looking for a good quarterback, because good quarterbacks can play it all different ways. They're looking for a type of quarterback that's going to translate. And back a few years ago, it was still the pocket quarterback. You wanted the pocket quarterback, and Rosen fit the prototype. He's just not a good quarterback. If you went back and really watched him at UCLA, he wasn't consistently good ever in college. His best year was probably his freshman year. He was all hyped from high school. He fit the mold. He was hyped from high school. He never produced in college. Surprised he didn't produce in the NFL. Now the prototype is switched. You want a dual threat quarterback. He doesn't even fit the prototype anymore. It's painfully obvious that he stinks. I don't think he's going to last very much. I think he's on the way out. And I don't think he's going to play against – I don't think Kyle wants to play him, although he should. I don't think Kyle wants to.
Yep.
I
don't mind that.
I
think that he thinks the same.
Yeah.
Josh is just not great.
Not good.
If we can just give him a chance this week against the Seattle Seahawks, if he can just take some snaps, if he can make some decent throws, maybe a team can give us a 7th round pick for Josh Rosen next season. But that so optimistic thing that I'm afraid to say it, because all the people who are listening to us week to week, knowing me as a negative guy from Hungary. So sorry, guys. I just I don't know what happened to me.
It was funny. Like this week, last couple of weeks, people have been trying to write about Josh Rosen because he's a story. People want to read about Josh Rosen, so people want to write about Josh Rosen, which means you got to ask Kyle Shanahan about him, and they'd be like, Kyle, why do you think things didn't work out? I mean, he was a 10th pick, and it was a top pick in the draft. It's been on 3 teams. Why do you think things haven't worked out for Josh Rosen so far? And you can just see this look on his face. He's like, what do you want me to say? Like, he's not good. That's why. It's because he's not good. I don't know what you want to say. Like, he was on the practice squad all year. Every team in the NFL was like, we're good. We're good. You can have him. Tampa was like, Josh, you're cool, but we're going to stick with Blaine Gabbert as our backup. I think the answer to the daily double here is he's just not good. Sorry. I want him to be good. He's a nice Jewish boy, although he doesn't rep his Jewish heritage. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe if he had a Jewish awakening, God would be on his side. Because God does pick sides in these games, as everyone knows. God picks sides. God's a big football fan, and Josh just isn't really, working his chosen person's status like he should be. Let's move on. What will happen at quarterback next season? Let's project this out. What's gonna happen? What is it? What do you think?
My hopes are that we are going to at least trade Jimmy Garoppolo for a team who wants a great quarterback next season.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do that with the Patriots. I have a lot of hopes that we can do that with the Patriots, that trade. That is going to be crucial. After that, I hope that at least we can sign a great veteran quarterback, but I don't mind that it is going to be the greatest solution for the quarterback position, because the people that we were talking about in the past months, in the past half year, were Matt Stafford, Matt Ryan, and other people like them. Of course, there were some other talks about Marcus Mariota, Mitch Trubisky, and other people like that. But my problems are with Matt Stafford and Matt Ryan, that they just earn too much for this team right now with as many needs as we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
And my other problems with Mitch Trubisky and Marcus Mariota is that they are simply not good enough to be a franchise quarterback. That's why the Bears and that's why the Titans just put them onto the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So after I closed the doors before those guys, I must say that I have a lot of hope that we can draft a quarterback on the draft.
Round 1, round 2, round 3.
Hopefully in round 1, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do that in the second or the third round.
The way I look at it is, I think the Niners are going to chicken out and not move on from Jimmy. I think they're going to keep Jimmy next year. I'm starting to think they're going to keep Jimmy, even though I think Kyle would love to move on. I think the Niners probably would like to move on. I think they're going to look at it and be like, you know what, 24-9 with him, moving on is risky. I think Jed probably likes Jimmy Garoppolo. He's marketable. I don't know if Jed said it explicitly or it even needs to be said, but dude, if you guys get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and you can't replace him and you start losing, you're fired. Are you kidding? He's 24-9. You may not like him, but it seems to work. So any replacement has to be like a surefire improvement. And if Kyle could have gotten better play out of Mullins this year than what he got from Jimmy, he could have been like, look, I mean, I'm ready to move on. We could do it with Mullins. Give me whoever I want. But he can't, because Mullins didn't play as well as Jimmy did last year. Now, there were a lot of mitigating circumstances, but I still feel like there is a lot of pressure for the Niners to bring back Jimmy, and they're going to buckle. They're going to buckle.
Do you think the pressure is higher on them bringing back Jimmy, or the other pressure is higher that a lot of fans just wants to move on from Jimmy.
Well, Niner fans want to move on, and they say trade up for a quarterback. But if that doesn't work, Niner fans aren't going to be like, hey, it's okay, we told you to do that. They're going to be like, you should have known better. We're fans. Why were you listening to us? You traded for this quarterback who stinks. You got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, who went back to New England and won a Super Bowl. That's your fault. You should have known better. You're fired. No, you can't just listen to fans. They'll forget what they told you to do in 2 seconds. That's a scary proposition to move off of Jimmy Garoppolo for some dude from Ohio State.
There's a quote in Hungary. Our first team sport that is some kind of historical for this nation is soccer, and we are always saying that in Hungary we are there are 10 million people in Hungary, and we are just saying that Hungary is the home of the 10 million soccer coaches. And when we are talking about American football,
I like that. I love that. I love
fans in America,
I'm
like, it's the same.
Same thing. So let's stick with what I think they stick with Jimmy. I think they don't draft a quarterback in round 1, and we'll talk about what they will do in round 1 later. I think they'll take a quarterback in round 2 or round 3, either with that second round pick around 45 or with the late 3 that they get for losing Robert Saleh. And it's either going to be Kyle Trask or Mac Jones or Kellen Mond or Desmond Ridder or someone in that tier. And it'll either be he should be better than CJ Beathard, but I don't know that necessarily. I think they might be in a position next year in 2022 that they might have to take a quarterback then.
Yeah. Sounds fair. I have a lot of ideas about that, but let's talk about it later.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's get to the next one. Let's re-rank the top quarterback prospects now that the college football season is almost over. You do it first.
Well, at first, no surprise, Trevor Lawrence.
I agree.
He's still the greatest of them. I think that no explanation needed.
Recently, a lot of people are starting to question it because of last night, but that's one game I still would put Lawrence in. Yep.
The second one for me, and it's a great race, although last time when we were talking about these things, I was pretty sure that Kyle Trask is the second one. But right now, I'm not so sure that he is the second one, although I don't mind that ball game talked a lot about his abilities, because it was mainly because he lacks of the target, and he was just took from the game just because I think his coach wanted to save his pro career before it started. So with all those bad plays and other things like that.
Honestly,
I would like to stick with Kyle Trask, but there was a sleeper who came in, and I would say that the second best option right now is Mac Jones.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay, let's make the case for Mac Jones, because he played great yesterday. He was terrific. I watched him. Terrific.
Well, I think that right now Alabama has less talent at the receiver position.
Right. They don't have Jalen Waddle. They don't have Ruggs. They don't have Judy. They got Smith, and they got Smith.
That's all. And that's
they got
all.
Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, and
but it's true. That's true.
And in the Florida Gators right now, there are a lot of talent at the receiver position, and we just miss out the tight end who they have, and he is still a great player as well. I think that he will be a first round pick in the NFL draft. Pitts, yes.
He's like Kelsey, man. He's so good.
Yep,
but he's better than Kelsey. Faster, exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He'd be a top 10 pick.
Well, and the other thing with Mac Jones is that he almost bring out the same stats that Kyle Trask had this season, but with a lot less talent. So that's why I would say that Mac Jones is the second best option at quarterback right now, in my opinion. But
fair enough. And then in 3, who would you put 3, 4, 5?
Well, Kyle Trask, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields.
Okay. And then Lance after him.
Yep.
Lance to me is a running back. Lance to me should be a day 3 pick. He ran like 190 times in college and completed 208 passes. Like, he might be a good quarterback one day, like when he's 30. Yeah. If he really dedicates himself to the craft after 10 years of development. But no, he's a running back. Like if Steve Young needed to take until he was 30 years old to develop, Trey Lance is going to take a long, long time. So okay, all right, I'm with you on your rankings. I wouldn't put Mac Jones that high. I actually don't like Mac Jones as much. I actually put Trask 2, and then after that, I don't know. I don't really care after that. But no, let me say what I like, what I see from Mac Jones. Mac Jones reminds me of Jimmy Garoppolo, very much in terms of arm strength, delivery. Maybe the quickness, the quick release isn't there, but everything else. I mean, he's pretty much a statue. He doesn't move very well. He's kind of graceful. He's pretty good. You say he doesn't have the receivers that Trask has. That's true. But what he does have is an offensive line full of first-round picks and a running back that no one in college football seems to be able to tackle, plus a hell of a defense. So when you have those things, it's pretty easy, I think. I mean, when I watch him play, I feel like it just looks so freaking easy for Mac Jones. And part of the reason is he can kind of just play at a slower pace. He can drop back, casually. He can go through his reads at a casual pace. He doesn't necessarily have to throw with anticipation because he'll have time to see the guy get open and make the throw. So, I like him better than Tua. I got to say that. I like him better than Tua. He's a stronger arm than Tua. But I don't like Tua. Tua's failing right now.
What you say that Mac Jones is quite similar to Jimmy Garoppolo. Isn't Kyle Trask quite similar to Jimmy Garoppolo?
Okay, that's a fair question because a lot of people say he is. Yep. What I see with Kyle Trask is I don't think Jimmy could have done what Kyle Trask did this year. Kyle Trask in the SEC with no run game. That offensive line at Florida is, and the defense isn't there. So it's drop back and throw. And now you do have great receivers, but Jimmy has great receivers in the NFL, and he can't drop back and throw. He needs all the play action and Jimmy gimmies and quick throws and all that stuff. You put him in the SEC with a shaky offensive line, all that speed, and said, hey, man, you got to throw 50 times a game. I don't think you could throw 44 touchdowns and 8 picks the way Trask did. That's a hell of a season. I don't think he can do it, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. He really did tear up the whatever conference he was in at Eastern Illinois. He tore it up.
Yeah, what I think of these draft talks before the actual NFL draft and before their pro careers is that it's like a poker game. Yes. I just want to find out what's in your hand or in these coaches' hands, but I just can't tell it. I have some ideas. Maybe I have some feelings. I see some things. I know some things, but I just don't see the whole picture. So.
It's a great point, too, because what's happening right now is the media is scouting and ranking these players. In January, when the Senior Bowl starts, then the coaches and personnel executives will actually start ranking these players. And you'll see that the media's big boards will change drastically because they'll go from, their expertise to the actual league's expertise. And they'll be like, oh, actually, after watching the Senior Bowl, this person just jumped 50 spots on my board. Like, yeah, you talked to someone who actually knew what they were looking at. So this is the media scouting season. The real scouting season starts in about 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. I have a feeling Trask is going to do pretty well in that because he's going to go to the Senior Bowl and tear it up the way he tore up the SEC. All right, what are some free agent moves you think the Niners will make this offseason? Guys they'll bring in, guys they'll let go, whatever you want to say.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we will let go of Kendrick Bourne. I don't mind that he will come back next season, although I like him in a lot of ways. But I think that right now in this financial situation, we just can't afford him. Maybe just to draft a guy in the middle or late rounds in the draft who can do the same things as Kendrick Bourne did for us in the past few years. He was great, but I don't think that we can find a better guy on the draft. Other things, I don't mind that we will resign Trent Williams.
You don't mind? I mean, what other options do the Niners have?
Well, Justin's cool.
Mike McGlinchey?
Mike McGlinchey, of course. Dan Bransky proved himself in the tackle position last season.
Yeah.
I think that he's an option as well. But what everybody has to see right now is that we are in a so bad position when we are talking about cap space that we have to let go some of our more expensive players. And we saw that in the past season or this year that left tackles earned a lot of money, tons of money. I don't think that we can afford that kind of price for a single player this season. And if we are not going to let go, if we are not going to take parts with Jimmy Garoppolo, I think that we just can't afford to have Trent Williams at left tackle.
Predict the guy I would go after is Trubisky because that's everyone's favorite player and I love him. And I want to give the Niner fans what they want, which is Mitchell Trubisky. But I just said that I think they're going to chicken out. They can't sell that to Niner fans. That would, whoo! Hey guys, we got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. We brought in Mitchell Trubisky. No, that wouldn't work. It wouldn't happen.
Almost as handsome.
No, it wouldn't work. So they're not going to sign a quarterback. They're not going to they're not going to sign a wide receiver. I don't know that they can afford to bring in anyone from out. They got to bring back their own guys. They got to get Jason Verrett, Trent Williams, Fred Warner, Kyle Juszczyk. Those four guys are kind of essential. Everyone after that, I don't think. I mean, Kerry Hyder would be nice, but can you afford him? I don't think you can.
Nope.
I don't think he's coming back.
Nope. After this season,
he's got to go.
Position, you just can't afford him.
You can't afford him. He's got to go. So Sherman's got to go. Tart's got to go. Jordan Reed's got to go. Yeah,
we can resign him for a veteran minimum.
Yeah, really. No, the ones that are imperative are the left tackle, the middle linebacker, the fullback, and the corner. What about K1?
I think that when he was injured, we didn't miss him as much as I expected that we will miss him.
True. Jamar Taylor did a pretty good K1 impression.
Yep.
Okay. So K1 can go, but the other four need to stay. So K1 can go.
Yep.
K1 can follow Robert Saleh right out of town. Thanks, K1. Yeah, they need to have a better player wearing number 24. That's a baller number. I don't like that their nickelback has 24. That should be the running back or the number one corner. That's how I feel. I don't know. Never mind. Not important. What do we expect in round one of the draft for the 49ers? Most Niner fans are expecting a quarterback. Is it going to be at 15? Is it going to be a trade up or a trade down? But it's definitely going to be a quarterback, right? Right, Botond? It's going to be a quarterback.
Well, you know me. After those times when we were sitting here on Saturdays and we were talking about football, and you know that I like tendencies and the tendencies that Kyle Shanahan and or CEO does.
Tendencies are important because these people in positions of power are much more dogmatic and set in their ways than Twitter GMs who change their mind every day. They really stick with what they believe. Keep going, Botond. I interrupted you.
And yesterday I wrote into Twitter that I'm pretty sure that they will draft a defensive lineman in the first round.
And when you said it, I was like, damn it, he's right. He's right. He's absolutely right. They are going to draft an edge rusher to replace Beathard in the first round. That's what's going to happen. Are they going to take an offensive lineman? No.
Nope.
Are they going to take a corner? No. Because this is Kyle Shanahan's team, and he said so. He would take a defensive lineman every year. He said that. He's going to take a D lineman to replace Beathard.
Yeah. I still can't see who we will pick in the first round, but I'm pretty sure that they will try to have a speed rusher, and a speed rusher is a really rare kind of player in the defensive. I think that I can say right now only two speed rushers in the NFL, and one is D4. The other one is who is the other?
Von Miller. Maybe. They're both hurt. Yeah,
Von Miller.
No. The premier speed rusher that I think of is Brian Burns.
Yep.
Brian Burns is terrific. They could have had Brian Burns. They took Nick Bosa. I guess that was the right call. But now they got to find the next Brian Burns. That's what they're going to probably look for, I'm guessing. I don't know who it'll be. I've just been looking at quarterbacks, but all you guys, don't get your hopes up for a trade up. No, it's going to be the edge rusher.
Nope.
Edge rusher.
Nope. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be a trade down and an edge rusher, just because we want to have more picks in the second and third and fourth round, because we want to draft a quarterback as well.
Sean asked, do you think Jordan Reed had more catches or tantrums this year? I saw lots of tantrums.
Tantrums.
he was the tantrum master, man. You would have thought he was the greatest player of all time, and everyone was just making him look bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really enjoyed watching him perfect his craft this year, man. What a player.
Yeah.
Talking through routes, missing blocks, catching, showing up his teammates. He was a nice addition to the team. He was good. I liked him. Finally, and then we could take a couple questions or we could go. How does the Hungarian faithful feel about this season?
Well, we are not so faithful anymore. No, that's not true. We are disappointed, but here in Hungary, the Hungarian San Francisco 49ers fan club called the Masochist Club.
And, the Masochist Club?
Yeah, the Masochist Club. And it's just because that the club was established when the 49ers went 2-14. And we were...
forget that classic season.
Well, we are disappointed, but we have a lot of faith in the team. We don't have as much faith in Kyle Shanahan or Jimmy Garoppolo or John Lynch, Jed York, but we are still pretty sure that we can find a way back into a winning season, I think.
It's Jay Scott said, how European of you to have a masochistic club. I think it's pretty funny. That's what Twitter is, a masochism club, right? At least they call it what it is. I like it. I want to join. If I were a Niner fan, I'd be in that.
Because we could enjoy some of the performances from players this season, but although we are not American football experts, or most of us are not American football experts, but we could see all those problems that we have talked about while we were talking about the 49ers here at your show. So... And you know what? First time when we have talked, when I reached you via Twitter to ask some questions about the 49ers, the first thing you said about me was that I liked that I'm not tiptoeing around anything.
It's true. That's true. Because around here, people are afraid to say anything other than glowing praise for the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan in particular. And you're much farther removed. What are they going to do? Going to track you down in Budapest? And what are they going to do? So I like that about you. You're an independent thinker, agent.
Thank you.
Yes. Rebel D, coming back to our previous topic, says, I definitely think edge rusher round 1, we can get a quarterback. In the second round, a lot are coming out. They will all be projects. Yes. And edge rusher is a need because D Ford ain't coming back probably. And yes, all I'm saying is, though, the offense is the problem with this team. And taking an edge rusher fits into Kyle Shanahan's pattern of not addressing needs. Of like not really being honest with where his roster stands. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go D-line every year because that's what I want to do. Dude, your offensive line has ruined the 2020 season. You're gonna let it ruin the 2021 season? I mean, honestly, they should have drafted an offensive lineman instead of Javon Kinlaw. Kinlaw is fine, but so is Kentavious Street and DJ Jones and Kevin Givens. Like, they didn't need him. They need offensive line. And if they go D-line instead of offensive line again next year and their quarterback gets hurt, they can't call that bad luck. That's not bad luck.
Nope.
They created their own luck on that one. So that's why I say, as much as I would understand the edge rusher, I don't think they should. They will, but they shouldn't.
Yeah, that is going to happen. Mark my words, guys. Mark my words.
It's a fantastic prediction. Love it. All right. Are we done? Or should we call it for the day? Should we go get ready to watch a wonderful? I think so.
There aren't any more questions, I think.
How did Wirfs turn out? He turned out great. He's a hell of a player. He's a future Pro Bowler. And Javon Kinlaw had 1.5 sacks this year, 4 quarterback hits, and he's got a knee injury that was flagged at the combine. I'm saying
And
Be
the other
careful.
thing is that silently Kevin Givens grew into an elite interior defensive lineman. At one point of the season, he had the greatest pressure percent when he got double teams. So, guys, appreciate Kevin Givens because that guy is great.
Yeah, and Kentavious Street's a pretty good backup. And DJ Jones, that's another guy they're not going to bring back. He'll be gone. Let him go. They got guys. Street was fine. Givens is fine. Those could be 2 starters right now.
Yeah.
All right, Botond. This was fun. This was our best show ever. I'm saying it right now. This was our best show ever.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Previewing a glorified preseason game that's coming up tomorrow. The Tank Special. Kyle, if you're watching, you have Botond and I's permission to tank. Go for it. We are not going to hold it against you.
Yeah.
Just get your good players out of there by halftime, all right? For us. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys.
See you next week.
See you next week. Take care.
Take care.